We're over at Forbes here, and the console sales are down big time year over year. Some of these numbers are quite surprising. We already knew Xbox was on the downward slide. Microsoft don't seem to be as bothered about the console. They seem to be all about pushing subscription services and moving towards a PC ecosystem, which means no room for their console. It's getting kind of shoved out. However, PlayStation and Switch are not immune. So this article from Paul Tassi says Xbox sales are down 70% year over year, with PS5 down 40%. Big numbers there. I did not expect this. So this spread across the board. None of the big three are immune. We've already mentioned Xbox and PlayStation. Switch 2 sales were down 10%, even as the Switch 2 was released just this past June. Why? Well, there are many reasons. A simple one is the prices are high, as we all know. The price of PlayStation 5s and Xbox in particular has went up recently. They have all suffered price increases, which is something unusual at this point in their life cycle. Usually, when a console has been about for 5 years, you're expecting the prices to be reduced. Not happening here. They are going up. So prices are high, going up. They may be going up again due to RAM shortages, thanks to AI hoovering them all up for their data centers. We will keep you updated and all that. We did speak about that in a bit more detail in the last podcast episode, so check that out if you want more. But with prices being high, consumer money is also low. Everyone's money's low because everything is way more expensive just now. The cost of living is up through the roof. It says here, as a result of tariffs and other market conditions, the prices for new video game hardware have skyrocketed. Xbox upped its hardware prices twice this year, with the Series S now costing $400 to $450, depending on the model, more than the launch PlayStation 5 was, which is just wild. And then the Xbox Series X now costs $600 to $800. So that $800 Series X is more than the more powerful PS5 Pro. Absolutely wild. On Sony's end, it also followed suit. The article says here, all console prices jumped $50. The PS5 Digital is $500, which is $100 more than when it launched. The PS5 Standard is $550, and the PS5 Pro is $750, coming just under the max storage Xbox Series X, even though it is more powerful. Absolutely bonkers that this is happening 5 years into a life cycle of a console. I don't think we've ever seen this. It's like the perfect storm just to empty gamers' wallets, unfortunately. It then goes on to talk about the Switch 2. It has not raised prices since its June launch, of course, but the handheld did launch for $500 compared to the $300 that the original Switch launched at. Doesn't seem to be impacting the Switch's performance though, even though it says the sales are down 10%, bizarrely enough. The Switch 2 is still the fastest selling console of all time so far. So it's just absolutely steamrolling on. Many consoles are now $50 to $200 or so more expensive than they were 5 years ago, as it's going on to say here, in an industry where you'd usually see unit prices go down as the generation pressed onward, and now we're in the back half. The other part of this is what's going on with the economy, where prices have increased on loads of other purchases. So brand new video game consoles may seem like a luxury item that many people are not going to bother with right now. Essentials like housing and groceries are rapidly becoming more expensive, and a recent poll shows that 70% of Americans say that things have become too unaffordable and have a poor view of the current economy. Wowzers. If you've watched the console prices rise, the fact that these declines are happening is no great shock. We can dig more into individual stories, like Microsoft essentially running an ad campaign to tell people they don't need to own Xboxes in favour of subscription services. We spoke about that on previous episodes of the podcast. I just hate that. I think Xbox and Microsoft have actually lost the plot. But the larger picture here is broad-scale economics, and it's unlikely to change anytime soon. This is a sad state of affairs for the video game industry right now. There's some other interesting little snippets here. So this report, all this information comes from Circana, and they also said that the gaming industry just had its worst November for console dollar sales since 2005. So that's in 20 years. This is the worst amount of sales in terms of dollars in 20 years. Wow. In a month where Black Friday is supposed to be a boon for such purchases, physical software sales are the worst they've been since 1995. The physical software sales is a weird one as well. I think that is a double whammy of people not buying games because of the reasons we've just mentioned, but also because a lot more people are buying digital games, unfortunately. People buy physical games. Come on, trust me. We don't want them to disappear. When they're gone, they'll be gone, and we will be just beholden to ridiculous pricing by, Xbox Store, PlayStation Store, Switch Store. Trust me, don't do it. Keep physical games alive so we have options. Like every game I bought on Black Friday they were all physical games because they were all far cheaper than the exact same game being on sale for Black Friday on the PlayStation Store. So trust me, people, it makes sense. Get a disk drive on your PlayStation. However, what's going on with this state of the economy and state of the video game console market? Is it going to get better or going to get worse? How's this going to impact the next gen consoles, which we know are being worked on right now? We know the PS6, it looks like there's two variants of that on the way, the handheld and the base home console model. And then Xbox are basically building a PC for their next console. So with these price rises across the board and this shortage of RAM, I actually wonder if we could see this generation be extended. Now, let me know if you think that's a bad thing. I actually don't think that's a bad thing. I still think there's so much more developers could do with the power in like the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5. I'll leave the Series S out of this conversation just now. However, you do see some really interesting ports happening on even the Switch 2 as well. Like, I've got Cyberpunk on the Switch 2 and it looks really, really good and it runs really well. So it just shows you what can happen when a lot of care and attention is put into a game. However, I don't see this getting better, so I do wonder if there would be an option to extend this life cycle. And a lot of people say, oh, we want, faster CPUs and more RAM and whatever else, more AI upscaling technologies, and I get it, but I actually think limitations on developers brings out the best in them. If I think back in the day, a lot of the games I played growing up, devs did not have a lot of power to play with on, like the PlayStation, and then even, the PlayStation 2 as it got later on its life cycle, or even before that, when you spoke about games in like the 16-bit generation and stuff like that. It breeds creativity because they need to think differently and think smart about what they're making, how they're going to make it stand out, make it the best game possible, instead of just relying on more horsepower. And I feel sometimes that makes devs kind of lazy because we've seen so many times in recent history, games get shoved out the door, they're not really finished, not optimized, and they're just hoping that the horsepower just carries it forward. If they can't do that, I think it will actually be good for games and gaming. Bring things back a bit as well. Not every game needs to be a 100-hour AAA $500 million budget game. Get creative. Give us really good experiences. I feel a lot of games as well, there's just so much bloat and just side quests and stuff that it's like, oh, come on, I don't actually care about that. Give me an awesome game, great story, especially, well, maybe I'm just talking about me. So busy just now. You've got family, friends, trying to work out, trying to, work. You want to do your gaming as well. I'm all for it. Like an awesome game being 12 hours to 20, 30 hours, you play it and it's just a great experience and you're like, wow, this was awesome. So let me know your thoughts on this. What do you think about these sales being down so much? Do you think this will impact this generation and next generation? And have you maybe not actually picked up a new console yet? Because that's what's, I guess, really interesting about this article is it's saying people are not buying these. So have you already got one of these? PlayStation 5s, Xbox Series X, Switch 2, Series S? Or are you still on older gen hardware using your Xbox One, your PS4, PS4 Pro? Let me know in the comments. I'm really interested to see what everyone thinks about this one.